Welcome, UC fans, to UC Bearcats on the Prowl, part of the Grueling Truth Radio Network. It's James Ernest and Mark Fightmaster talking UC Bearcats. Mark, what have the Bearcats been up to?
Well, James, I think, Chuck D from Public Enemy may have said it the best in Welcome to the Terror Dome. He said, I've got so much trouble on my mind. I do, but let's first go into the good, and then we can maybe deal with the college football rankings. The playoff rankings. The good UC won. They beat Tulane 31 to 19 or something like that. I can't remember the exact final score. 32 to 19. It was a tough performance, man. It was tough.
It was.
And I think I'm wrong on the 19. I think it was
31 to 12.
31 to 12. Because at halftime it was 14-12. And I believe his name is Gary Barta from the playoff committee, whom I could go on the rest of my life and never hear from him again and be okay. He said that UC was playing against a freshman quarterback, and that counted against them in the playoffs. They didn't look good, James. But you and I were both saying with where they were in the coaches in the AP poll, the goal is to keep winning, and the goal is to still keep winning. And we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a couple minutes with the CFP stuff. But so they won. Homecoming is this weekend, and the good thing is college game day is coming.
Yeah.
To the tailgate, and they're going to be there before the game, and it'll be fun. It'll be fun for the fans. I've got friends on Facebook looking for tickets all over the place, and they're talking like $150 resale per ticket on StubHub.
Oh, wow.
So this is going to be a well-attended game, and with college game day there, it's going to bring a lot of attention to UC. And that's good because they need the attention, to be quite honest.
Very true. I mean, they had a tough game, but they still won. I mean, that's all you can. Well, I guess that's not all you can ask. I guess they need to ask for style points.
Yeah, and that is evident by tonight's college football poll. And again, I got a ton of things I could say about it. I'm gonna rein it down a little bit, but let's if you want to, maybe we could talk about this week coming up. The homecoming game. This is one they need to win. They need to win big.
Exactly. And they need to wear red.
Yes.
And since it's homecoming, everybody who goes to the game, just remind you, wear red. Otherwise, people will look at you like you're weird.
Yeah. I forget what the official thing is, but it is. It's a wear red game. So, so go get your red on and go from what they play. Okay, they play Tulsa.
Tulsa, yeah.
I believe. Yeah, Tulsa. Last week was Tulane, and this week is Tulsa. Tulsa, they played against Ohio State, and it was close for a little bit, but UC just needs to go out and handle business.
Exactly. I mean, they really do need to have a strong showing because where they're now, short of. Even with a couple of the teams losing, it could be hard for them to get in.
Yeah, and I guess that brings us to the not so appetizing stuff to talk about. But the college football bowl playoff rankings, CFP rankings, college football playoff rankings came out. UC 6th, and James, I think what bothers me the most is not Ohio State being ahead of them, because we talked about that. That might have been a little bit expected. It's Oregon. Oregon has a quality win against Ohio State. Oregon lost to Stanford, who has 5 losses. Okay, 5 losses. And that makes absolutely zero sense to me. Okay. The good thing is it's early. This is the first one. So if we look ahead of UC comes in 6th. We have number 1 is Georgia, number 2 is Alabama, number 3 is Michigan State, 4 is Oregon, 5 is Ohio State. Then they've got Michigan in 7th, and then the Oklahoma being ranked 8th to me is beautiful.
Really?
Because they've struggled, James. You know, I mean, they've struggled so much that the college football playoff committee actually took that into account. But, you know, I don't know. I just this is kind of the weirdest rankings I've seen. But if we look at what's ahead of UC, okay, Georgia and Alabama play at least one time in the championship game this year, and they may play another time still. I can't remember if they play each other in the regular season. So, number one or number two is going to lose and maybe lose another time. So what we want there, I think, is for it to be Alabama.
Exactly.
That's my thinking. Because then let's say Alabama loses to them two more times. Well, there's a 3-loss team right there. I don't see them staying in. Oregon, I honestly believe they're just going to lose another game. Something's going to happen. They're going to lose another game. They've played uninspired since the Ohio State game. We'll see what happens. But Michigan State being third, they play Ohio State in a couple weeks. And if my memory serves me correct, it is in Columbus.
That sounds correct, yeah.
If Michigan State loses that game, I expect them to fall, out of the top 4. The problem becomes then Ohio State has a win over the number 3 team, so they're going to be up in the 4th place, and Oregon will probably move up unless Oregon loses. Then the real concern for me, James, comes with Michigan, because if Michigan does keep winning and they have a quality loss, and what if they beat Ohio State in that last game of the year and Ohio State's ranked 3rd? So I think I was talking to my brother about this a little bit earlier. Unfortunately, the AAC scheduling has bitten UC in the butt again. And, they have a great quality win against Notre Dame, but that Indiana game, it's just proven to be an anchor on them. And at the beginning of the season, you and I both thought it was going to be a good thing for them, and unfortunately it turned out to be a bad thing.
It's just weird how, in showing this, the video of it, they ended up going to the number 6, like basically where they kind of cut off. Instead of like listing the top 8 teams, they list the top 6 teams.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Something's just really weird about it all, isn't it?
Yeah.
They gave that idiot Barta plenty of time to talk, and he just kept talking himself into a corner.
Yeah.
So,
like you said, Georgia, Bama, one of them's got to win. Michigan, Ohio State, or Michigan State, Ohio State, one of them's got to win. And then Oregon, hopefully losing.
That is just the one that just boggles my mind, James. After I watched the Ohio State game on Saturday night, and after the game, Kirk Herbstreit came on and gave his top 4 and first 2 out. His top 4 were Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and Cincinnati. And then his first 2 out were Michigan State and Oklahoma. I honestly think that was the most level-headed pick of them all. You could flip Ohio State and UC. I get that. Whatever. 3-4, whatever. The problem is, man, that first ranking to be 6th, you need a lot of help. Now, is it impossible? No. What was Ohio State in their first ranking the year they won the national championship after they had lost to Virginia Tech? I think they were like 14th in the original one. So it has happened before, but you do need help. And the problem is UC's schedule is not going to help them.
Exactly. There's no wins that really matter. Heck, the SMU game, in the NCAA rankings, SMU is 23rd, but overall, or not overall, but for the bowl championships, they're not in the top 25.
Yeah, and that hurts, Unfortunately, there is not an opportunity for what the bowl committee, or the playoff committee, we'll call it quality win for UC from here on out. And we can be as mad as we want to be as UC fans. Some of my friends talk about follow the money, which it is kind of interesting, James.
It is
top
true.
5 teams. The top 5 teams are all Nike teams.
Yeah.
And then you have UC. Makes you think a little bit. So, we can be as mad as we want about it, but part of the problem is the AAC, which we're going to be done with here
in,
soon.
2023?
Unless they're going to buy out early, and I haven't heard anything about that, So the hope is that we can continue to build the program and Fickle will stay here, and that then when we go to the Big 12, maybe we get the respect we deserve by beating those powerhouses like Texas and Texas Tech or Texas Christian or whoever else is in it,
So you're saying if we were in the Big 12 and we were an undefeated team, we'd probably get more respect. Is that what you're saying?
Well, but Oklahoma's 8th.
Yeah, that's what I was about to point out. I'm like, yeah, shoot, that hasn't worked out well for them. The heck, they've got 9 wins, and it still doesn't matter.
I got to tell you, that Kansas game really, really hurt them, I think, because that was way too close for way too long. They won the Red River Shootout or the Red River Showdown, I think is what they call it now. But it took a miraculous comeback, I honestly do believe that the committee looks a little bit at how the teams are playing this time. I don't think they have in the past. I think they did this time. I think they've seen that Oklahoma struggled with teams they shouldn't have, and they said they're not as good as we think they are.
And then speaking of being, a Power 5 conference, I mean, they really have no faith in the ACC.
No, Wake Forest is undefeated and they're 9th? Yeah. Well, it just goes to show you, if you're in the ACC, you better have a paw print on your helmet, and then they'll pay attention to you.
Exactly.
You need, and again, my brother and I have talked about this all the time. Dabo Sweeney is the largest crybaby in the world. And he gets attention to his program by calling out people. You know what I'm saying? So, and maybe Fickle needs to do that more, but I'm glad he doesn't. And I'm going to say this. I think the Big Ten is a bit fraudulent. I believe that, Iowa rocketed up the rankings and they lost 2 straight. Michigan State got rated as high as they did because of their win over Michigan. I just don't know that now. I just don't know how good the Big Ten is. Does Ohio State deserve to be where they are? Maybe if they're doing the eye test kind of thing, because they are pretty high powered. But they did struggle against Penn State. But Penn State up until the week before had been ranked 5th in the country. So
exactly.
Who knows, man? This is oh gosh, who was it? Was it Joey Galloway? I believe it was Joey Galloway who said this will not be fixed until we expand.
Exactly. And they need 8 teams at least.
Yeah, and I think Galloway was even maybe calling for 12.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I can't remember. And because I stopped watching after hearing that Barta dude talk so much, I was like, I'm done. I can't listen to this crap. So I turned it off. And then I saw on Twitter, I saw somebody saying that Joey Galloway had the best plan, and it included expansion. And I can't remember if they said 8 or 12. So,
well, I like one from each of the Power 5, and then 3 at large.
Yeah, I think that works. I think that works, especially since there is a championship game in most of those Power 5 conferences, if not all of them. I think they all do.
I believe they all do, yeah.
But I think that's a good way to do it. I think that's a good way to fix it, James. But then maybe if you wanted to expand it to even, say, 10, you have your Power 5s, your 3 wild cards, and then you just expand it to 5 wild cards. But then the problem becomes, who do you cut out and all that stuff, and we have that crap all again. And I know this sounds ridiculous. The only way that this is ever going to be resolved is if there's a March Madness style tournament, but not with all 360 teams. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like maybe it's the top 24 teams or something, but then you got to have the games played so quickly. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to get to that. But the problem is when you have, and let's say we have 36 teams that are decent, in the country, there's always going to be debate because everybody's going to think, well, we should be ahead of this team. I mean, what about University of Texas San Antonio? You know, undefeated. They didn't crack the top 25. So, much like SMU, I think SMU is undefeated.
No, SMU lost.
They lost one.
Yeah, they lost one.
Okay. So, you know, I mean, and so the way this is,
UT San Antonio. Yeah, they're 8-0. Yeah. They're number 16. But yeah, you're right. They're not in the playoffs at all.
Yeah, and you know, really would chat me if I was one of their fans. The guy, that Barta dude, called them USTA instead of UTSA after he said that there was a lot of conversation about them. Really? Okay. I think just, and you're going to have to excuse the expression, what chaps my ass about all this is a lot of teams are getting beyond name recognition. Okay, Alabama lost to an unranked team, a 4-2 team, a 4-3 team maybe. Oregon lost by double digits to a 5-loss team. I'm sorry, but Alabama's in there because they're a God Almighty Alabama. Oregon is in there because they're in the Pac-12, and I think the committee is desperate for a Pac-12 representative.
That and just they beat Ohio State. I think that's really their.
Yeah, and I agree with that, James. But the problem is they lost to Stanford.
I get what you're saying, but I'm thinking that their logic was, how can we put a team behind Ohio State if they beat Ohio State?
Yeah, I guess what's funny is, have they ever used that logic before until this year?
No, because according to that logic, Texas A&M would be in front of Bama. Other than I think their logic is you have to be undefeated or only lost one game and be ahead of that one team that that beat you.
I think what's funny is I think it was the college football Reddit Twitter feed. Okay, so if you get that college football Reddit Twitter,
yeah.
They said the problem for Cincinnati, Wake Forest, Texas San Antonio, and then one other undefeated team, I forget who, Oklahoma, is that they don't have the quality loss that those other programs have.
The quality loss.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, Ohio State is considered a quality loss. I guess, God forbid, Oregon is considered a quality loss. I don't know. I
don't think theirs is considered a quality loss. I think
struggle to see that logic. So, but let's take a deep breath because there is still a lot to play out ahead of us. I think that our roadmap to the college football playoff for UC, and right now we got to start thinking about the 4th spot. Okay, we got to start thinking about the 4th spot. Our roadmap is, I guess, either Michigan State wins out or Ohio State wins out.
Yeah.
One of those two wins out, and I don't know which one's more feasible. But one of those guys wins out because then that gives Ohio State 2 losses. So we have that happen. Michigan State wins or Ohio State wins out.
Okay.
That would drop one person out of the way. Oregon, I think when all is said and done, they're gonna drop out, either because of a loss or because they're going to continue to not look great. The one that we really need up top, James, is either Alabama needs to beat Georgia both times they play them. If they play them twice, and again, I can't remember. I don't know their schedule. Or
no, they don't play twice. They just play in the championship game. No, I say the opposite. I think Georgia needs to beat Bama because Bama with 2 losses will get knocked out, but Georgia with only 1 loss is going to have an argument to be in the top 4.
Exactly, and so that if they do play just one more time, which you said they do, then we need Georgia to win. We need Georgia to take care of business.
We definitely need that.
So,
and then, like you said, one of the Big Ten teams, and then hopefully Oregon gets rid of themselves. But I don't think if Oregon loses, close and we lose close, or we win close and they win close, they're still going to be ahead of us.
Yeah, just because they are right now. Do they belong there? No, I don't think they belong ahead of Ohio State. So, again, the road is not easy, but the road is still there as long as we take care of business. I think our nightmare scenario becomes Alabama beats Georgia and they both stay up there.
Yep.
I think Michigan, like Ohio State beats Michigan State, but then they lose to the team up north. I think that's a nightmare scenario because then Michigan would have a win over a top 3 program, top 4 program, and would probably jump UC.
Yeah.
But we'll see. It's all scenarios.
Exactly. And then who would play in the because actually you're an Ohio State fan, so are Michigan State, and Ohio State in the same part of the Big Ten?
I believe so. I believe they're all the East.
Okay.
Yeah. So where the problem comes there is if Ohio State beats Michigan State and then Michigan beats Ohio State, Michigan State would go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, but then again, I could be wrong, James. I can't, but I don't think I am. I think they're all in the same one.
I
because
agree
the West usually puts out a more mediocre team in the Wisconsin, the Iowa, I guess Illinois could make it. One of them, Nebraska. So something along those lines. So the Big Ten championship game isn't really the one that UC needs to pay the most attention to. It's going to be what happens between Ohio State and the 2 teams up north.
Exactly. Yeah, because the East Division, Indiana, Maryland, Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State, Rutgers. So, yeah, the East is definitely a lot stronger than the West.
Yeah, the West is Iowa, Illinois, Nebraska, Minnesota, Wisconsin. I mean, really,
Yeah.
yeah. So
it's going to be a tough road for UC. I mean, they need to. Well, I mean, the main thing is they keep doing what they can do and keep winning.
Yeah, at a point like this, Fickle's got to say to his guys, we can only control what we can control. And that's what's in this room right here. So we go out, we take care of our business, and we let the rest of the chips fall where they can, or where they may, and hope that they fall our way.
And just throwing this out there, because I'm kind of confused by this, because last year they had it on the schedule, not saying that they were playing it, which they did play in it, but even at the beginning of the season, they had the AAC championship game on the listed what date and all. They don't have that listed under UC schedule.
Oh, so it's not listed anymore. That's interesting.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to look into it. Are they still having it, or did something happen with the conference that they not doing a championship this year?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. That is a good question. Let me see here. Yeah, I don't see anything about it.
Yeah, because I started trying to figure out when it was, because I'm wanting to take off. I'm wanting to go to the game because right now we'd be hosting again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is kind of an odd one. Well, either way, it's been a lot. Like you said, there was a lot of stuff to talk about when it comes to UC, when it comes to the playoff picture. And, and the next couple of weeks, we're going to have even more stuff to talk about because we'll have basketball to go along with the football.
Yeah, because we're getting started here in the next week. I think they have a game against Evansville coming up soon.
Yep, Evansville on next Tuesday night. So when we're doing our talk next Tuesday night, they'll be playing the game.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, maybe we can check that out. And then I think that'll be fun. I'm excited to see him. I think we touched on it a little bit last week. We don't know what to expect from Miller, but and then from the players he has. But you know what? Let's watch it and enjoy. This is I don't think we need to. This is going to be a basketball season where we're not sweating things out like we are this football season. Where there aren't greater things that we need to worry about. All we want to see is something different.
Definitely. Well, any final thoughts?
Nah, let's. I know a lot of UC fans are walking towards the ledge, but let's let things play out. We got to remain calm, and see what happens because generally, what's the old saying? Ball don't lie. So let's see what happens there.
Exactly. Well, for James, Ernest, and Mark Fightmaster, this has been UC Bearcats on the Prowl, part of the Grueling Truth Radio Network.